Hello, good afternoon. This is Aaron Hall at Joseph and Hall. I'm here for our weekly update on what's going on in the world of immigration. As a reminder, we're normally here at 12:30 Denver time on Mondays in English. We're running a little bit late today, but wanted to record anyways. And then normally it's Wednesdays at 12:30 in Spanish. This coming Wednesday is the American Immigration Lawyers Association conference, and so we will not be recording this week. We'll be back the week after. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about briefly today is kind of what's in the news. We have some reporting about a supposed pause on ICE operations related to agricultural workers and hotel workers. And so I wanted to talk about what that looks like. Um, First of all, kind of going back to the last administration, if you remember, they had enforcement priorities that were actually written in a memo from the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. And basically, what they said in that administration was we have whatever it was, like 11, 12 million people here without immigration status or who are deportable, and we only have so many resources, and so we want to focus on certain categories of people for our enforcement priorities. And those categories in that last administration were um, people who had recently arrived to the United States, so that was defined as after November 2020, people who had certain criminal convictions, and then people who were a threat to national security. Um, so those were the people that ICE was really going after. A lot of other people, and the majority of people who didn't have other issues with law enforcement, they probably weren't going to be a priority anytime soon because they had lots of work to do without prioritizing those people. So then Trump comes back in and he does the same thing that he did his first administration, which was to say, there are no levels of priority. We're going after everyone. We want to get everybody in. And then they started telling ICE leadership that they wanted certain levels of arrests per day. The latest number that I saw was 3,000 per day. This was a demand from Stephen Miller. So that has incentivized them to go out and try to arrest people everywhere, right? So on the street, in courthouses, but also, at restaurants or at hotels or in the fields where people are working, where there might be people who don't have immigration status. And again, no levels of priority. If you're here without status, then they were going after you. So what happened? Well, the reporting is that over the course of time, industry leaders from certain industries, including farmers and hotel owners, were in contact with the administration, saying, "Listen, this is crippling us. We can't find workers. Our workers aren't showing up because they're afraid of the ICE operations, and it's going to cause food supply chain issues, as well as issues with the hotels or restaurants being able to be open." And eventually, it sounds like it got through to the president. The president heard this, and this is the last or the latest reporting. This is from the New York Times. What it says here is the report is that an email went out from an ICE official, a senior ICE official named Tatum King. And the email instructed ICE agents to hold all worksite enforcement investigations / operations on agriculture, including meatpacking plants, restaurants, and operating hotels. So let's talk about what that means if it's true. So the if it's true part comes into just how firm a policy is this. Does this mean that literally they're going to stop making arrests in those places? Is it a blanket hold on all of that, or is it just a suggestion? It's not really clear from the reporting. But secondly, it's important to know what it doesn't say, right? It does not say that agriculture workers are protected, or restaurant workers are protected, or that hotel workers are protected. What it says is that it's work site enforcement and operations. What's the difference? Okay, well, let's say I work in a restaurant, and I go into work and I'm in the kitchen and I'm doing my work, and then ICE comes in. They're coming in and they're checking everybody's papers in the restaurant, and then they're arresting people who are there. Well, if this policy is actually enforced, if it is a policy and if it's actually enforced, then that shouldn't be happening anymore. But if I'm the same worker in the same restaurant and I'm driving down the street on the way home from work and I get pulled over and they turn me over to ICE, I'm still the same person. I still work in the same restaurant, the same critical industry, if it seems like it's being called through this policy. But this policy does not seem to protect me. I would be arrested and put into removal proceedings if I didn't have immigration status. So again, that's important. That's an important distinction. It is not the individual that's protected. It's the work site enforcement. It's where they're going to take the actions. Again, if this is truly a policy and if it's enacted in good faith, this is what it seems like is changing. So again, it's kind of going back on the administration's policy of no levels of priority. It's also an admission because a lot of their rhetoric coming from the White House has been, well, all people who are here without status are undocumented or are criminals because they've committed a crime in crossing the border illegally or not complying with our immigration laws, and so they by definition are criminals, and it's imperative to our safety and security to get them out of the country. Well, this is quite an admission that actually no, either they're not dangerous people, these people who've lived here oftentimes for a long time and who work in these industries, or the administration has decided that that our safety is not that important. I don't think it's that. I think that they're admitting that they're not a danger to anybody. They're doing hard work that's really important. And if that's true for those industries, for agriculture, restaurants, and hotels, you can sure bet that's true for a lot of other industries. And so I think they've opened up. They've been forced to face reality in these industries, and they've opened up the possibility of being forced to face reality in lots of other industries, and more importantly, for lots of other people. So lots of other stuff in the news that we're not going to talk about today. We'll get to it another time as far as protests and enforcement and the use of the military and enforcement. This is the one that I wanted to touch on today because if it were true, it's quite a big shift and it's quite a big admission on the behalf of this administration. So like I said, we're off on Wednesday for the American Immigration Lawyers Association conference, so we won't have a video then, but we'll be back next week. Again, it's Mondays in English at 12:30 Denver time, Wednesdays in Spanish, 12:30 Denver time. My name's Aaron Hall. I'm with Joseph and Hall in Denver, Colorado, and I hope you all have a great week. Thank you.